More than 20 years ago, a European martial arts magazine published an article that I wrote about an ancient form of Japanese Koryu Karate. Back in 2002, I was first introduced to Koryu Karate by my teacher, Grandmaster Shoto Tanemura. At that time, very few people outside of Japan had ever even heard of these teachings. Long before social media, YouTube, or online courses existed, we were already trying to share the immense value of these martial arts traditions that were nearly lost. What was once an exclusive secret passed down to only one person has gradually been revealed through kuden, oral teachings, direct transmission, and a living history. Part 1. The nearly lost tradition of Koryu Karate. One person only. Before my teacher, in each generation, only one individual received the full transmission. So, over all that time, this Koryu Karate tradition was transmitted to a very limited few. But Soke decided it was time to open the door to this rare martial arts tradition. Shokyu no Rei. Part 2. What is Koryu Karate? Today, when most people hear the word karate, they imagine sport competition or some sort of modern martial arts. However, the Koryu Karate being discussed here is completely different. It is not the karate widely known today, nor is it simply another branch of Okinawan karate. Koryu Karate is an ancient and secret transmission of classical striking methods. Its lineage is extremely ancient, preserving traditions older than many systems of Jujutsu. Today, this Koryu Karate can only be formally studied within the Genbukan International Martial Arts Federation, headquartered in Saitama-ken, Japan. Although it's written the same in English, in the older scrolls and documents, the characters for karate used was not the modern empty hand, but rather tode, China hand. The character to referred to ancient China, indicating a much older striking tradition called daken taijutsu. Therefore, Koryu Karate is not simply old karate. Chukyu no Rei. Part 3. The transmission of Koryu Karate. Part of this Koryu Karate tradition was transmitted from Ueno Takashi Sensei to Kobayashi Masao Hosho Sensei. Kobayashi Sensei inherited Kijin Cho Suiru and other classical martial arts traditions. My teacher, Grandmaster Shoto Tanemura, received the precious transmission of these schools directly from Kobayashi Hosho Sensei. Ruha no Rei. Part 4. Characteristics of Koryu Karate. In Koryu Karate, extremely close-range movements, striking methods, and unique body dynamics are highly emphasized. These teachings were not preserved as isolated techniques, but taught together with taijutsu, Jujutsu, and secret weapon arts. Because of this, each movement contains many interconnected elements, including distance, angles, balance breaking, and body control. From my experience, I have found that in martial arts, what is truly important is not comparing systems, but continuing one's own training with sincerity. There are no easy paths. Only through honest and hard training can one begin to understand the true meaning of martial arts.
道場規定
Here is the third of 5 dojo kitte, dojo precepts.
3体欲の楽と意固の心を忘れよ
3. Forget easiness and abandon laziness. While training in martial arts, the physical part of this is obvious. Avoid being lazy. But the mental part, which I believe is just as important, is not as clear to many students. Mushi. The literal translation of these two characters, mu, without or absence, shi, watashi, self or personal interest. While often translated as just humility, the deeper meaning of mushi is to train, act, and to serve without arrogance, ego, or selfish motives. Part 5. The preservation and transmission of Koryu Karate. Preserving martial arts traditions such as these correctly across long periods of time into the modern age is not an easy task. As times change, people's values and ways of thinking also change, and older traditions and cultural knowledge can gradually disappear. However, truly valuable traditions and timeless teachings must still be properly carried forward into the future. Traditional martial arts taught in this way are not simply about defeating another person, but also a way of strengthening both body and mind through sincere training. Jo-kyu no re. Part 6. Kuden and Direct Transmission. On October 10th, 1989, Sato Kenbei Sensei passed on all the techniques of Nihon-den Tenshin Koryu Kempo to Tanemura Soke. This is one of the other main schools of Koryu Karate. Within the transmission of classical martial arts, one of the most important elements is kuden, or secret oral transmission. However, kuden does not simply mean verbal explanation alone. This term also includes teachings transmitted through movement, feeling, breathing, and direct physical experience. These are passed directly from master to student in a variety of ways. For example, before a special instructor session, when I personally met Sato Kenbei sensei, Sato sensei removed his hakama. Many instructors did not understand the significance of this, but Tanemura Soke explained to us that it was so we could clearly observe Sato sensei's footwork. Had Sato sensei continued wearing the hakama during that training session, it would have been almost impossible to clearly see those very subtle movements. Within that footwork were extremely important teachings. That was a form of kuden. My teacher, Grandmaster Shoto Tanemura, has also inherited many scrolls and dinsho, secret books. Among them is a scroll known as Toro no Maki, the Tiger Scroll. These days, within Japanese university settings, the phrase Tiger Scroll can imply a special key to uncover answers within a high-level textbook. However, within martial arts, it is not that easy. Simply possessing the scroll itself is not enough. One must also legitimately inherit from the previous grandmaster the kuden contained within the scroll. This protects not just the understanding of the words and concepts in the scroll, but it also allows the next grandmaster to be able to physically express them as well. In that sense, Tanemura Soke is an extremely rare individual, someone who is able to decode all of the oral teachings and written scrolls. In addition to being able to lecture and explain these martial arts traditions, Soke can express them physically as well. Part 7, Towards the Future of Martial Arts. Today we live in an age where anyone can instantly access massive amounts of information. The same is true for martial arts. There are now endless videos, books, and explanations available everywhere. However, I think what truly matters is not simply gathering random information, because no matter how much knowledge a person has the potential to acquire, without proper direction, it's still very possible to lose the true way. That's why having a teacher who has spent decades training, gaining real experience through actual practice, is so very important. When climbing a mountain, it is difficult to perceive clearly the entire landscape. However, someone who has already reached the summit can easily look down from above to better understand which path should be taken. I believe that if students train sincerely, then I also have a responsibility to guide them the best I can, using the lessons I've learned through my own journey. Of course, a YouTube video alone can only communicate so much. Even so, if this video inspires even one more person to take sincere interest in the classical martial arts traditions, then I will be deeply grateful. That has long been the mission of Tanemura Sensei, and it has also become my mission as well. The comments have generally been disabled. However, now there is a well-thought-out survey available where you can weigh in on what types of videos you want to see next. Scan the QR code on the screen or use the link in the description below. I look forward to hearing from you.